He started all those years ago on a niche channel in the UK with just a small production.
For 13 years, Edd China was the calm giant turning rusty cars into gold on wheeler dealers. But behind the cameras, cracks began to show. The network wanted less workshop time. Edd walked away. That choice set off a chain of disasters. His garage went bankrupt. His YouTube channel vanished. A Ferrari scandal tainted his name, and Mike Brewer accused him of very bad things. In the middle of it all, a 37-second video revealed a truth fans never expected. Early life. It all began in London on May 9, 1971. That was the day Edward John China was born. No one could have predicted that this tall, curious boy would one day become one of television's most respected mechanics. Edd's childhood was far from ordinary. His father, an aeronautical engineer, turned their home into what felt like a miniature industrial workshop. This wasn't just a simple garage with a few tools. It was a place where young Edd learned the secrets of how things worked by taking them apart and building them back again. While other kids spent their afternoons playing video games, Edd often dedicated 12-hour stretches to experimenting with electrical systems and mechanical parts. He didn't just play with machines. He studied them, tested them, and rebuilt them until they worked perfectly. From the very beginning, his perfectionist streak was obvious. For Edd, something that merely worked wasn't good enough. It had to be flawless. His father constantly challenged him with more complex projects, and soon the boy who once repaired toys was building machines with moving parts and functioning electronics. Years later, when he explained repairs so simply on wheeler dealers, it was because he had spent a lifetime practicing how to make the complicated easy. But school wasn't as smooth for him. He attended King Edward's School in Surrey, a historic boarding school filled with wealthy students who preferred rugby and popularity over engines and machinery. Standing at 6 feet 7 inches tall, Edd already stood out. But it wasn't only his height. He didn't care about sports or fitting in. Instead, he spent his free time sketching machines and solving problems in his head. That made him different. And in that environment, different often meant lonely. Yet the isolation shaped him. It pushed him to rely on his instincts and gave him the resolve to never trade precision for popularity. When he left school in 1989, that mindset carried him into London South Bank University, where he enrolled in the Engineering Product Design program. For the first time, Edd found a place that matched both his creativity and his technical drive. Professors quickly noticed his rare talent. Not only could he build complex systems, but he could also explain them in a way anyone could understand. That gift would one day capture millions of television viewers. While most students juggled a handful of assignments, Edd was handling 35 car projects at once. And beyond that, he purchased a massive double-decker bus and converted it into his home. Unlike his classmates who lived in small dorms, Edd lived in a fully wired, heated, and plumbed bus. On campus, it became legendary, a space where he could live, work, and dream up his next big invention. And then came the sofa. Not just any sofa, but the casual loafa. Edd built it originally to raise money for an expedition to Belize, but it became something much bigger. Powered by a mini 1275cc petrol engine with an automatic gearbox, it was a fully road-legal driving sofa. The controls were hidden in the armrests, the covers were removable, and it could hit speeds of 87 miles per hour. At Goodwood in 1998, it broke the Guinness World Record for fastest furniture. More importantly, it proved that Edd didn't just think differently, he followed through and delivered. Behind the scenes, a quiet but strong family support system helped shape him. His wife, Imogen, later helped manage the business side of his projects. And his father-in-law, the stunt director of the Italian job, taught him how mechanics and visual storytelling could blend together. To Edd, building machines was never just about the engineering. It was about making people care about them. Edd's entry into television was almost accidental. In 1994, he showed up looking for any kind of work in the film and TV industry. That's how he found himself hammering away at an old rover, for the sitcom Father Ted. He spent a week making the car look beat up enough for a church raffle. It was dirty, unglamorous work, but he loved every moment of it. During filming, a strange problem came up. Father Jack's wheelchair needed to move on its own. The crew kept over-engineering it with motors and chains that always failed. Edd, ever practical, laughed and suggested, why not just use a starter motor? In the end, they pulled it with a rope, but the lesson stayed with him forever. Sometimes the simplest ideas win. By 1999, Edd took things further by launching a company with a quirky name, Comfy Banana Limited. The name sounded silly, but the concept was sharp. Build outrageous, road-legal vehicles disguised as furniture. His sofa car, bathtub bike, and even a motorized bathroom weren't gimmicks. They were fully insured machines that could be rented for £3,000 per event. Advertising agencies and corporate events loved them. He didn't stop at sofas. He created motorized shopping trolleys, beds, and even an entire bathroom set on wheels. One of his boldest builds, the Bog Standard, could carry passengers in its sidecar bathtub at 68 kilometers per hour. What looked like comedy was, in reality, both clever marketing and serious engineering. By 2009, he launched another venture, Grease Junkie, a garage and merchandise store tied closely to wheeler dealers. Piece by piece, Edd wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was running a growing empire. Long before wheeler dealers, though, Edd had already made a name for himself. In 1998, he appeared at Top Gear Live in Silverstone, driving his sofa car. That same year, Jeremy Clarkson featured him in a video racing the sofa against real cars. It was madness, but it worked. Suddenly, the automotive world knew who Edd China was. He kept the momentum with regular appearances on The Big Breakfast, showing inventions like the bathroom car and motorized bed. By 2000, he was on Scrap Heap Challenge. By 2002, he became the regular designer on Panic Mechanic. His reputation grew stronger with each appearance, paving the way for wheeler dealers in 2003. The Guinness World Records soon followed. In October 1998, Edd set his first record by reaching 140 kilometers per hour in a motorized piece of furniture. In 2005, he built the world's largest motorized shopping trolley, standing nearly 3 meters tall. In 2011, his Bog Standard set the record for fastest bathroom vehicle at 68 kilometers per hour in Milan. And in 2020, he built the fastest electric ice cream van, reaching almost 119 kilometers per hour. But this one had a purpose. London was banning diesel ice cream vans, and Edd developed an electric conversion kit to keep them alive. Every invention, every TV spot, every record, it all fit into a bigger vision. He transformed student experiments into a global business model. Companies rented his creations for thousands of pounds. TV gave him exposure. YouTube expanded his reach. Merchandise, consulting, records, it all connected into something bigger. And then came the turning point. In 2003, Discovery Channel wanted to reinvent car television. They didn't want flashy stunts or racing. They wanted real restoration. So they paired two very different men. Edd China, the calm, brilliant mechanic who made complex repairs look simple, and Mike Brewer, the fast-talking dealer who knew how to buy and sell. Together, they launched Wheeler Dealers. The chemistry worked. Mike brought deals, energy, and speed. Edd brought knowledge, patience, and precision. The show wasn't about flashy cars. It was about old, tired vehicles restored with care and then sold for a profit. It was simple, authentic, and viewers loved it. But from the beginning, there was tension. Mike focused on business and entertainment. Edd focused on detail and teaching. On screen, they were a perfect duo, even close friends. Mike even made Edd the godfather of his child. But behind the cameras, the clash of visions never fully went away. And ironically, the very format of the show made Edd the true star. Viewers didn't tune in to see the deals. They tuned in to see Edd. His calm explanations, towering presence, and perfectionist touch made the workshop segments unforgettable. Even as the show exploded worldwide, airing in over 220 territories and reaching more than 200 million viewers, Edd stayed humble, never fully realizing how much fans valued him. Wheeler Dealers. Wheeler Dealers was a car restoration show that aired in the United Kingdom in the early 2000s. Its premise was simple. One person would find a used car to buy, and another would repair it in a garage. At the end, they would try to sell the vehicle for a profit. Yet the show was never just about money. It was about the joy of fixing things, bringing old cars back to life, and sharing that passion with viewers. That simplicity made it a global hit among car enthusiasts. Edd China was the man behind the tools. With his tall frame, calm voice, and meticulous style, he quickly became the face of the garage. Mike Brewer, on the other hand, was the buyer, always on the hunt for a good deal. Together, their chemistry was undeniable. Mike would source the cars and handle the business side, while Edd would repair, restore, and upgrade them with care. Their contrasting styles created a dynamic that was both entertaining and authentic, making viewers feel like they were part of the process. As the show grew, it reached audiences around the world. Fans appreciated Edd's patience, honesty, and intelligence. In the workshop, he explained every detail, from dismantling engines to replacing rusty parts, in a way anyone could understand. His work reflected a love for craft and a commitment to doing things properly. Every bolt tightened, every part restored, showed that Edd wasn't just fixing cars. He was teaching viewers to respect the craft. Then in 2017 came a surprise that stunned fans. Edd China was leaving the show. For many, he was the reason they tuned in. His departure was sudden, raising questions and sparking speculation about what had happened behind the scenes. Edd later revealed that production changes had prompted his decision. New producers wanted to reduce workshop scenes, believing the repairs were too detailed. But Edd felt those scenes were the heart of the show. To him, Wheeler Dealers wasn't just entertainment, it was education. Skipping over the intricate work would undermine everything that made the show special. Rather than compromise, he made a conscious choice. He walked away. The decision was not about money or fame. It was about principles. Edd believed in the value of teaching, in showing viewers how to repair and restore cars with their own hands. His exit shook the fan base and altered the dynamic of the show. Without Edd, Wheeler Dealers felt different. Mike Brewer remained, but the energy and balance of the original duo were gone. Fans missed the meticulous explanations, the calm guidance, and the subtle humor Edd brought to every episode. After leaving, Edd did not chase the spotlight. There were no major headlines or interviews. He stepped away quietly, leaving behind a legacy built on honesty, skill, and respect for the craft. The silence of his exit made it all the more powerful. Edd China proved that staying true to one's values mattered more than fame or television fame. His departure became one of car television's most talked about moments. But the lingering question remained: why did he leave? And what would come next for the man who had become the spirit of the garage? Life after the show. Edd China. After Edd China left Wheeler Dealers, the world went quiet. There were no headlines, no interviews, no public appearances. The man who had become a household name through television seemed to vanish overnight. Fans were left puzzled. What had happened to the calm giant of the garage? The silence felt almost surreal. During those months, people searched for answers. Websites, car forums, and social media were scanned for clues. Yet there was little to find. Edd had always valued privacy, and after leaving the show, he retreated even further. He said nothing about his plans, his projects, or his next steps. It was as if he had stepped into the shadows, shutting the door behind him. For a long time, there was nothing. No videos, no garage tours, no new inventions. Rumors circulated, Some believed he had stopped working on cars, others thought he had left the country, and a few even suggested retirement. None of these claims were backed by proof. The only certainty was that Edd China had walked away from wheeler dealers quietly and deliberately. Then slowly news began to trickle out. What started as whispers turned into confirmed stories. Edd had not given up. He had returned to his roots, going back to the garage where he had first built his inventions. Away from cameras and scripts, he returned to the workbench, where wild ideas came to life and creativity ruled. Here, he found peace. Edd began building again. Cars were fixed, machines were tinkered with, and new creations emerged. He was not doing it for applause or views. He was doing it because he loved it. The passion that had burned on screen now thrived behind closed doors. No scripts, no film crews, no deadlines, just Edd, his tools, and the machines he understood so well. Though private, word spread. Some visitors glimpsed his garage filled with half-built vehicles and unusual inventions. Photos occasionally leaked online, showing old parts alongside futuristic designs. Edd was not just restoring, he was inventing. Bikes, cars, and machines, unlike anything seen before, flowed from the mind that once built the sofa car and the fastest toilet in the world. Fans were surprised, but respect grew. Edd had chosen the quiet road. He could have pursued fame, returned to television, or joined another show. Instead, he opted for freedom. Freedom to explore, create, and experiment without limits. Some projects took months to finish. Others never left the garage. Yet this pace was intentional. He did not rush. He did not explain himself. There were no sponsors, no studios, no deadlines, only quiet, persistent progress. Slowly, fans began to understand. Edd had spent years teaching the world how to fix things. Now, he was fixing things in peace. His garage became his sanctuary. No one could say exactly what he was working on, but one thing was clear. Edd China had not disappeared. He had simply stepped back to move forward on his own terms. Far from the media, away from the cameras, he had found happiness in the work itself. And sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. The Big Surprise by Edd China. Edd China's private workshop had always been shrouded in mystery. After his sudden departure from television, there were no interviews, no videos, no statements. The silence was deafening. Fans who had once tuned in weekly to watch his witty explanations and clever fixes were left wondering, where had he gone? Some assumed he had moved on to a quieter life, while others held out hope that he was somewhere still building. No one knew for sure. Over time, this silence fueled endless speculation. Online threads buzzed with theories. Questions piled up. Where did Edd China go? What was he working on? The garage itself was hidden in a modest industrial area, easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. Outside, it looked plain. No signboard, no painted logo, no hint of the wonders inside. But for those lucky enough to step through the doors, the scene was breathtaking. This was not just a workspace, it was a world of creation. There were no cameras, assistants, or scripts, just Edd and the machines he had quietly crafted over the years. The space was packed from wall to wall, experimental vehicles, oversized tools, mechanical puzzles. The air smelled of grease, oil, wood, and something intangible. Raw invention. This was not for show, it was for creation. In one corner stood a towering shape, draped in a heavy tarp, taller than most cars and longer than an average table. When unveiled, it revealed a hybrid vehicle unlike anything seen before. A vintage roadster fused with modern electric technology. The control panel bristled with switches and blinking lights. Levers and toggles replaced the steering wheel. Hand-built frame, wires intricately arranged. It spoke of months, perhaps years of planning. Nearby, a curious three-wheeled bike with solar panels and pulleys hinted at Edd's futuristic imagination. It looked like science fiction come to life. but every part was engineered by hand. Dozens of sketches pinned across the walls showed motorized armchairs, floating bikes powered by magnetic coils, and drones cobbled together from scrap car parts. Margins were filled with calculations, gear ratios, and angles. It was a window into a mind that never stopped inventing. Shelves held small mechanical parts, circuit boards, and repurposed gadgets. A toaster transformed into an ignition switch for one eccentric vehicle. One creation resembled a time machine, complete with spinning wheels and blinking lights. Function mattered less than the act of daring to imagine. Even the classics were there. The motorized sofa, dusty yet intact, a converted shopping cart with racing wheels, a bicycle attached to a blender. These inventions were more than whimsical. They symbolized curiosity, joy, and relentless experimentation. When photos of the workshop surfaced online, reactions were immediate. Fans were thrilled, amazed, and inspired. Some called it the big surprise. Others dubbed it the lab of lost genius. Whatever the name, it was undeniable. Edd China had never stopped building. He had chosen to work quietly, on his own terms, without expectation or pressure. Through this hidden garage, Edd's legacy evolved. He was no longer just the tall, clever mechanic from Wheeler Dealers. He was a visionary, a creator, and a builder in the purest sense. Every dusty blueprint, every unfinished frame, every eccentric gadget spoke of a lifetime of curiosity. And for the first time, the world realized Edd China had never really gone away. Edd China returns. After years of silence, Edd China surprised everyone by stepping back into the public eye. There was no press tour, no flashy interviews, no grand television comeback. Instead, he quietly turned to YouTube. What began with a handful of uploads soon became a revival of everything fans had missed. But this time, Edd was fully in control. No producers, no schedules. In April 2021, he launched Workshop Diaries on YouTube. Weekly episodes offered a window into his projects: cars, tractors, boats, and experimental builds. It was just Edd, his garage, his tools, and a single camera. Simple, authentic, and effective. For the first time in years, viewers saw him not as a TV presenter, but as a real engineer doing what he loved. The first major series, Ask Edd, was straightforward. Fans sent questions, and Edd answered them, not with scripts, but as if sitting beside each viewer. Head gasket failures, carburetor cleaning, or clutch issues. He explained every detail, opened up parts, drew diagrams by hand, and shared his dry humor. No flashy lights, no dramatic edits. Just honesty, knowledge, and patience. Ask Edd quickly gained a following. Young mechanics, who had never seen Wheeler Dealers, started learning from him. Older fans returned, finally reconnecting with the detailed explanations they loved. Building on that success, Edd launched Educated. Each episode focused on one topic: clutches, gear ratios, bushings, or belt alignment. Step by step, he dismantled and rebuilt parts, explaining why everything mattered. Educated quietly became a revolution in online automotive education. Teachers used episodes in vocational schools, car clubs shared them, and mechanics forwarded links to apprentices. Fans often said they learned more in 10 minutes with Edd than in an entire week at college. In July 2023, he took on a role as expert arbiter for WarrantyWise, a respected UK vehicle warranty company. Whenever disputes arose between garages and customers, Edd inspected, evaluated, and made final decisions. His fairness, logic, and independence reassured drivers and mechanics alike. In March 2025, Edd returned to King Edward VI Grammar School in Chelmsford, Essex. Invited for a STEM assembly, he shared stories from his childhood experiments, first inventions, and the lessons learned from failures. Students listened, captivated, as he made engineering feel like an adventure. He encouraged curiosity, experimenting, and embracing the kid who asks too many questions. At the end of his talk, Edd presented the school with a signed copy of his latest book, Grease, Gears, and Great Ideas. Unlike a textbook, it read like a journal, filled with workshop notes, personal stories, and diagrams. Future inventors could borrow it any time for inspiration. The assembly ended with applause, cheers, and students lining up to shake his hand. With Ask Edd running, Educated growing, and his book inspiring young minds, Edd China had built a quieter, deeper legacy. No longer just a television name, he became a teacher, a mentor, and a force of inspiration. And yet, the biggest question remained: what is he secretly building next, in that mysterious garage? Edd China's journey proves that passion always wins over fame. From a curious schoolboy to the star of Wheeler Dealers, and now to a quiet inventor in his private workshop, he's followed his own path, building, fixing, and teaching on his own terms. The world may not see everything he creates, but every invention tells a story of curiosity, skill, and determination. Curious about what he'll build next? Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment with your guesses, and stay tuned. You won't want to miss the next videos.